Okay, the following footage is one of Epstein's lawyers. She is a reptilian shapeshifter. This is real, this is unedited, this is right off TV, and I'm recording it myself, and it freaked me out. It's very shocking. We've never been alone, guys. We're not alone now, we've never been alone. They should come out already.
And a good Thursday afternoon to all of you. We want to welcome you to an afternoon discussion on our social platforms on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Began in a federal courtroom in Manhattan last week. Day 9 opened up today. Some interesting developments today in the case.
Right there. She just got uncomfortable. She's shifting.
Fellow defense attorney
She's trying to play it off. She's like, oh, me? Me? Okay.
Thanks for having me.
And also want to welcome
Thanks
in
for
another
having
expert,
me.
Doug Rudman,
Look at that.
former prosecutor.
This guy.
To kind of weigh in on this case, talk about
Let me
where.
pause.
And a good Thursday afternoon to all of you. We want to welcome you to
He's a
an afternoon
shapeshifter
discussion
also.
on our social platforms on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Began in
There
a
you go.
federal courtroom in Manhattan.
They're not as
last
pronounced
week.
as
Day
hers.
9 opened up
And he's
today.
definitely not
Some
blinking
interesting
sideways,
developments
but
today
she
in
is
the case.
bugging out, guys.
We're joined by my fellow defense attorney and local defense attorney, WPTV legal analyst, Michelle Suster. Michelle, thanks for joining us
Trying
today.
to play it
Thanks
off.
for having me.
And also want to welcome in another expert, Doug
What?
Rudman, a former prosecutor locally, to kind of weigh in on this case, talk about where we have been, where we are at today, and where we are going.
There you
I want to
go.
start with
Ooh,
today.
there you go.
The trial entering its 9th day. This could be the last day for the prosecution, possibly more likely tomorrow, because of an interesting development today. Everything rested at 10:30 a.m. due to a sickness with one of the lawyers. It was an interesting component. The jury was dismissed. The court went into recess, and then they'll pick up arguments and testimony tomorrow morning. Michelle,
Her mouth wants
you're
to
right on the
shift,
side.
her
We'll
cheeks
start
are
with
shifting,
you.
her
Is
eyes
this
are
interesting in
shifting.
the sense that we don't have to see this happening? Is this just tomorrow the prosecution will pick up and move forward, or is there a psychological component here?
Well, first of all, we're assuming that they're going to pick up and move forward, assuming that the lawyer is fine and that there's no COVID. I mean, no one said that there, but that's why there's also so many alternates on this jury because of what's been going on with the pandemic and all of the variants. And so, assuming that this goes on tomorrow, they're just going to pick up. And everyone
Watch when she finishes talking. She smiles at the camera
again. It does sort of break the stride a little bit.
Look how black her eyes are right now.
The prosecution
That's the second eyelid. The black eyelid over the top. That's the one that's blinking and hiding the real cornea underneath it.
Today, maybe tomorrow, definitely by Monday.
Yeah, they indicated, as Michelle, you just pointed out, that they should be done by the end of the week, although today's alternative could change that, might develop into Monday. Doug, I want to bring you in on the ending at 10:30 this morning. What did you think of this?
Well, I thought it's very interesting because when you see the jury having an opportunity to actually walk away, think, digest everything that's going on, and giving them that opportunity to really reflect on what the testimony was. It's very, very interesting how that worked.
To dissect and move forward in the case as the prosecution wraps up, the defense picks up speed as well. Let's start back last week. Again, this is happening in a federal court. There's no cameras being allowed, so there's just details as we cover it and as the media covers it around the world. But it's an interesting case that happened in our backyard for over 2 decades. Doug, I want to start with you on the prosecution. What stood out to you over the last several days in the prosecution's testimony?
Not surprising, but actually I think rather intelligent. Miss Maxwell was actually charged with 60 to commit these trafficking charges. Now, what's actually really
look at him shifting. Look at those eyes of his. Look at that. Look at that. You see how those corneas cover him? Look at him. Look at that eye behind there. Jesus Christ.
We heard from some of the victims, the testimony, and then we heard from some of the people who were a part of this network, or alleged network, so to speak, or just the empire that existed within this whole 2 decade. Did you see anything that stood out to you, Michelle, in the prosecution's case? Any witnesses that you thought were really intriguing?
Yeah, there was one tasty one in the front. I mean, yeah.
What the defense is going to be doing is trying to poke holes in the state's case. They're trying to attack credibility, like a pilot or a FedEx delivery man. They were just sort of doing their job. And so how do you poke holes in them? And what they're doing is trying to show.
Look at her. She lost her 5 minutes in the sun.
And so those are powerful.
She's loving
those are
talking.
Really powerful. But you know, you're also.
I'm so knowledgeable. I'm so knowledgeable.
When you're a defense lawyer.
Look at me.
Multiple victims.
They're narcissists. They're control freaks.
And are you
They're in the
going
government,
forward alone?
celebrities,
Because
sports,
you have to do your job. You have to be an
TikTok,
effective
dancing
advocate.
for you. Look
But
at me,
yet,
look
as
at
a
me,
defense
worship
lawyer, you
me.
have to say, look, this person has credibility issues, and
If
that's
they are
what they were
friends, they
doing
wouldn't be
for the
hiding.
women that have, and they're
We
women
wouldn't have a million
that have
kids
testified, and
disappearing.
they're
There wouldn't
only
be
using
underground
their first
reptilian
names,
cities in Los Angeles and around
to
the
protect
world.
them, and saying, oh well, you know, you were
This is what's
you were
wrong with the
only
world, guys.
16, you were only 14, and you know you were taking drugs, you had a pregnancy out of wedlock, and those things, and yet you have to be careful because you have a jury that's, you know, that also has empathy, has sympathy for these women too, and so that's interesting for me. Just hearing about how they're cross-examining the women.
That's interesting. Interesting point that you brought up too. And as we looked each week, or excuse me, each day of this week, we saw a new witness come to the stand. I thought the pilot and the FedEx delivery person were interesting because the prosecution seemed to be just reaching out, trying to find anybody, as you said, that was sort of
She's
a
calmed down a
bystander,
little
any
bit.
connection
All
to
that
this
talking.
case. What was interesting,
She's
Doug,
not
I
as
wanna talk to
shifty
you
as she
first,
was
and
at the
Michelle, you
beginning.
could, back
But you can
me up on
clearly
this in
still
terms
see
of,
it.
the pilot. The
You
pilot
can
was
clearly
interesting in the
still
sense I
see
didn't
it.
think he gave
You
a
ain't
lot.
hiding nothing,
He said
lady.
there wasn't a lot that he saw. He didn't.
You ain't hiding
allege
shit, honey.
acts, women, girls, nothing to that detail. But what
She
he did
reminds me
say
of
at the end,
Jessica
I thought was
Biel.
really
I wonder if
interesting, is
Jessica
that
Biel's a
he
reptile. Of
mentioned
course
that
she
Ghislaine
is.
Maxwell was
You
number
gotta
2
look
in
at the
this
chisel
empire. It
features,
was
man. The
Epstein,
necks,
and then it was Ghislaine
the
Maxwell.
jaw
And
lines.
I
They're
thought,
usually
as a
beautiful
defense,
people.
and Michelle, I know you're going to allude to this and talk
Look,
about
the
this.
eyes
You kind
went
of
black again.
disconnect Ghislaine
Ooh,
Maxwell
look at
from this
that.
man
Look
as
at
just
that.
maybe an employee. He
Look
made it
at
really
that.
seem like she was a powerful employee. So was that more
They're
of
not our
a
friends,
huge
guys.
strike for the defense?
I know
They
there's
got an uphill
different types
battle,
of
and was that
aliens,
interesting in your
but
point from the
you
prosecution
know
standpoint
what?
that
We only
that
see the
pilot may have
freaking
gave something
reptilians.
away right there that was
Where's the
really
nice ones that are
intriguing?
helping us?
Well,
This is
from what I know
news.
about
This
the
is
pilot's
alternative,
testimony, I
fake
think there are really
news.
two things that are very important.
These are the
One of
lawyers,
which is a
the
prosecutor,
cheaters,
you
the
want to air your
deceivers.
dirty laundry. You
No
didn't
wonder
want
she's
the
a fucking
defense to
lawyer.
call the pilots, for the pilots
She
to
probably
say
got a
they
pint
never
of
saw anything
adrenochrome in the freezer
inappropriate
right
on the
now.
plane. They
Gonna go
never
watch
saw
this and
anything of young
pour a
girls or
nice
anything
glass
like
of
that. So
adrenochrome
the fact
wine
that the
and
government
watch
got that
yourself on
out
TV
from
today and
their
just
own witnesses,
love
and they
this
called those
whole
witnesses
fact that she
very,
was
very
out here
smart.
telling everybody
The
this.
other part is the government is telling a story.
Look at this guy's freaking
And
eyes.
the story is,
Does that look
this
like
is
a
what
normal
happened
fucking pupil?
with these girls, with Miss Maxwell, with Mr. Epstein, and even if you can get these witnesses to corroborate
Jesus.
3 out of 10 facts, the fact that these stories are overlapping and the government's able to prove their case through that, that was actually definitely a win for the government, and I don't think it's a step back.
Michelle, what do you think of that?
No, I totally agree with you, Doug. I think that is very important. And again, what the defense is going to say here is that, you know, she wasn't a major player. She wasn't a major player. Maybe she was, you know, these women at the time, girls, may have had memories that were false memories. They have been coached, etc. They were in.
It's all
Again,
bullshit. Everything you're saying,
every
lady.
single witness that
The whole
they're-
trial was a
that
sham.
the government is doing, they're
Just like you.
building. Exactly what Doug said earlier was she was part of this conspiracy. She helped make this work, and but for her, you know, she would bring them into the room,
Yak.
deliver them,
She's just
literally
loving
deliver
herself.
them for Jeffrey Epstein, and then take them away. And so she was not just an employee; she was a critical piece of this conspiracy.
And it's interesting as the prosecution coming back on the stand, Doug. Is there anyone that you think the prosecution needs to put on the stand before they close up?
No, I really feel like the prosecution are better off just resting now, give the jury an opportunity to digest, and whatever defense they're going to put on. I
See,
think
this
the
is crappy over
prosecution's
here.
done
It's
their job.
pixelated. If you show that to
And
someone, they'll
think
say,
that's a
no,
good
it's
point.
just
And
blurry. It's
the
no
fact
good.
is that the women
gotta do the big
now,
ones
the
up
girls
close.
at the time
You
that
know that's
were-
not
that
blurry.
were
You know
used
that's
by
her
Jeffrey
eyes.
Epstein, that were targeted.
Irrefutable proof.
Were
Move as we move from the
This
prosecution
whole
to the
write-up is
defense.
just
Again,
for our
prosecution
benefit.
expected
The whole
to wrap
trial
up
was a
tomorrow. That
sham.
could change because
You're
of
a
the developments
sham.
today, the delay in the trial today.
You
As we
are
move
controlled
forward and look at the
opposition.
defense's arguments
You
and
are
how,
probably the
when
enemy.
they opening-
And if
opening
you are
statements,
not
I
the
should
enemy,
say,
Miss
when
Michelle,
whenever they open up at some
you should
point
probably
next week.
contact
What is
me
the
and
case
contact
for the
other
defense
people
here?
because we
we
know
talked
and we
about
see you now.
separating,
And
Ghislaine Maxwell
we know
from
that
Jeffrey
our
Epstein
country
and trying
is
to disconnect here, but
almost
how do you do
gone.
that?
because
think
of
it- I
people
think
like
it's
you
very
in power. So
I really do.
if you're friendly,
And
you should
they're
probably
going
let
to
us know.
have to do everything that they can.
'Cause I'm gonna do my
throw
best to
Jeffrey
expose
Epstein under the bus,
every
he was
last
this
motherfucking one of you guys.
megalomaniac, control
TikTok,
freak. She
Facebook.
was under his power, and try to create some sympathy.
What
some
the hell are you
empathy
guys
for Miss
planning?
Maxwell, that she was,
What's up with the underground
again,
cities?
really delving
What's up with
into
the
their
adrenochrome?
relationship and psychologically what
What's
she was
up with
going
all the
through, and that
mind
she was,
hijacking since
whether
3,000
she
years
was just
ago
following
and the
orders,
Anunnaki?
it was all him. Again, there's no Jeffrey Epstein. It was the two of us together. And they're going to try
see,
to
this
make
goes back a
the
long
government out
time.
to be, look, they're vindictive.
Long
they want
time.
someone. They're trying
Draco
to hang someone here.
reptilians
And because they
hijacked
don't
the
have Jeffrey
Anunnaki
Epstein,
and the early
who was
humans
responsible,
and
they
started a
want
soul
Miss
chamber.
Maxwell. And then
Enki
they're
is
going
Jesus
to be
Christ,
bringing in an
people.
expert, at least one expert, to talk
Lucifer,
about
Marduk.
false memories. That
It's all
these
been a
girls,
lie.
and they have
Gonna have to come
attack
to
their
my page to
credibility.
learn.
They have to attack them.
It's too
That
much to talk about.
Prior media
yeah,
interviews, money
Jesus
that
is
they
an alien.
received from a fund.
Jesus is
some
Anunnaki.
have received millions
So's
of
Lucifer.
dollars, and that's
Marduk.
what this is all about. This is
We've
about
been lied to
notoriety, fame, and money.
by these things.
And they were, again, you can't say that they were willing participants because they were underage, and you can't legally consent. So it's going to be very tough. I think it's going to be very challenging for the defense.
Yeah, and as the defense opens up next, whatever day they actually take the stand.
Well, and really, really interesting is, number one, these girls will battle, and I really think it's going to be difficult for them to make their case, because how many employees do you know are massaging their employer's feet on an airplane? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, to all our social media viewers out there, if you're on any of our platforms and would like to weigh in, we offer you the opportunity to chat with us here. We've got our legal expert, Michelle Suskauer, WPTV legal analyst, and former prosecutor Doug Rudman, talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell case. It entered day 9 today in a Manhattan federal court. It shut down operations at 10:30 this morning due to an illness with one of the lawyers, expected to resume tomorrow. Prosecution expected to wrap either tomorrow or Monday, and then the defense, of course, will kick off operations next week. Do you all expect it for a long period of time, or are they going to wrap pretty quickly? What's your gut on this, Michelle?
Well, first of all, weeks. They estimated this was going to take 6 weeks. I couldn't believe that was going to take 6 weeks, and it hasn't. I think this is moving a whole lot faster. This judge is moving this case. She is no nonsense. I can't see that they're going to need more than a week to put on their defense.
Because it's a
Doug, what do you
bullshit
think?
case and they're moving it
I
along.
actually agree, and I think
Ghislaine is taking the fall for everybody.
Because I don't know what witnesses
Look
they
at
would
that
call.
eyeball.
It can never be used against her, and the jury can't infer anything. But I think with the defense that they've put forward, they're almost going to want to hear, the jury's going to want to hear from Miss Maxwell. I just don't know how that's going to turn out. I think it's very tricky either way.
Yeah, in every case, and it's always a challenge to try to instruct the jury that, listen, you can't use the defendant's silence against them, but inevitably that happens all the time, whether a jury is going to admit it or not. And so in this particular case, just as Doug said, I really don't know who else they're going to call. They're going to, they've had to do extensive cross-examination. They have of these girls. But again, they're going to bring in an expert. And I think that the expert is going to be important, because they're going to talk about, look, this is why would these women come in and say something that actually did not happen? They need to give the jury something to hang their hats on, to say, this did not happen and this is why. And they need to create reasonable doubt. I just don't know if they can.
Can they create, like, all throughout this, all the testimony, everything we've heard prior to this trial? You don't often hear of Ghislaine reaching out to the victims. It's been all the details on the defense side, but you don't really hear about her and the empathy and sympathy. Could that weigh in, or is it better just
Michelle, I would agree with you, but here's the thing that I think the defense would really capitalize on, is if they tried to paint her as some sort of battered spouse, an individual who had also been taken in by Mr. Epstein,
And what they could hope for is something called like jury nullification, that, maybe that, to ask the jury, listen, yes, this she may have participated. This is what she did. Yes, that's all true. But let me give you a reason why you need to find her not guilty. And that's hard. Juries do it. Juries do jury nullification. But they're going to need a darn good expert or Miss Maxwell to be a superstar on the stand.
Do you think she'll take the stand? Would you put her on?
I don't know. First of all, if she wants to take the stand, despite what her lawyers are recommending, she has the right to take the stand. And that has happened. I'm sure Doug's had those cases. I've had those cases like, no, don't take the stand. And then they do, and, they have a right to. I don't know what kind of a witness she's going to make. She's an intelligent, very well-educated woman. That could be the key to swaying this jury if she is, and trust me, if she's going to take the stand, they have worked with her. They have worked her. They have done sample cross-examinations over and over and over, for months. So we'll see.
Doug, what do you think?
I actually can't agree with Ms. Selska. This is not going to be seen when we see it. It's going to be rehearsed. It's going to be well
So
stated.
you can see how
and she's going to stay
she
on
stopped
message.
shifting so much as
We're
she
discussing
got
the
comfortable.
Ghislaine Maxwell trial, day
When she
9
first started,
of the
she was
trial,
really
expected to hit
jittery.
day 10
She
tomorrow
was
with
nervous.
prosecution resting. Eventually,
So it's
very
like what I
close to
say,
resting,
these
and then,
guys,
of
they
course,
get used
the
to what's
defense
happening and they get a
taking
little bit better.
sometime next week.
But if they
In our
freak
final
out or
thoughts
they get
here, I just
passionate
want to
or
open up the floor to you both.
they start talking about something
This
that
has been such a whirlwind case. It
they're really
happened in our
passionate about,
backyard. You guys, we've all lived
they
here
start
for
to
decades.
shift.
We,
See,
all the
she's more
details,
relaxed
the-
now.
The victims. This wasn't just
Stop licking her lips and her
Case
teeth
Elaine was
and
on
shifting
aisle
side
2
to
and a
side
shooter
and
came in. I mean, this
eyes
was
aren't
a
blinking.
huge case that went global.
Still there though,
Can you
baby.
wrap it
You
up in
can't
a
hide it.
sense
It's
as-
just a lot
as-
better.
As attorneys and looking
That's
at this
why we
case
don't
and
always see
dissecting
them,
it,
because they're
what do
usually
you
like
see
this.
The impact of
And you'll
this case
mistake
being
that.
far after we get a
But the
verdict
second
here?
she freaks
And
out,
what is the lasting impression that we'll see?
you'll
in this
see
case?
that jaw
Michelle,
change and the
you-
teeth come out and the eyes
it
change.
is very, very close to home because these girls are from here, most of them.
She's in her element now, so
Um,
she's comfortable.
High school names
But
that
she
we
wasn't
know.
when she first showed up.
And
but now she's
so many
okay.
of us have daughters.
But she
And
still can't
so
hide it. When you
and-
know what to
and
look
also,
for,
we've seen
they
him.
cannot
we've
hide
seen
it.
Jeffrey Epstein in our courtrooms and serve time in our jails. And so all the players are very familiar to us.
Let's see
And
him.
I think I think that there is a need, although you can't
Man,
ever
it's not
have
good doing it
closure
off
in a case
video.
like this,
You got to
that-
do it off
that
live.
there needs to be
Even though this is video, but
responsibility,
It's a live video,
that's,
not like
put on Miss
a recording
Maxwell
of a
for-
recording.
That's what I think that the people are
I mean, if
feeling
it's a recording
for
like this
her
and
role
turns
in
towards the
this.
camera, yeah,
Um,
that's pretty good.
Again, that's why I think it's going to be really.
But not
critical as
something
to
like
what the
that from
defense is
far
doing.
away
But
and
it
blurry,
is-
you
it
know,
is very
something like
personal.
this,
And the
you
fact that,
can't really tell because of the
for
glare.
these girls, who have
Gotta do this, you gotta
experiences,
do it
who
right.
claim to experience this, that they'll never get Jeffrey Epstein.
This is why nothing gets done.
He is prolific.
Bloomberg
without
and
Miss Maxwell, he would not have been
Comey's
able to
prosecutor,
do,
this
the amount of
lady,
damage that he
they're all
did.
reptilian, guys.
This is the justice.
You sell
that
your
the
soul to
victims
these
have been
demons
waiting
to have the
for.
power.
This
All the
is
celebrities tell you. They
the,
sign on the dotted line. They're not even
culmination of years
trying to
and
hide it no
years
more.
and
Yeah, I
years
sold
of
my
being
soul
put
to the devil.
down.
This is the devil.
This
These things are
is
the
the
devil.
final
Lucifer,
justice
Satan does
I
not
think
exist.
they're going
Evil
to
does
get.
not exist.
And if
These
you
things
can't get
aren't
Jeffrey
evil. They're just
Epstein,
eating us.
you're going
They're
to get
doing
the
what they do
person that
normal, just
actually
like we
allowed
do to
him
cows.
be that degree of
Cows
a
must think
predator.
we are evil, but we don't
wanna
think we are
thank
evil,
Doug
right?
Rudman, former prosecutor,
So,
and my colleague
this is what's
alongside
going on,
Michelle
guys.
Susscar,
We're
local
sheep to
defense
these
attorney
things.
and WPTV legal analyst. We appreciate all our
We've
viewers.
always
We
been
appreciate you
sheep to
both
them.
weighing in on this case. I'm sure we're going to be talking about it much more extensively
This
in
is
the
the
weeks
Maria
to come. Again, the
Abramoviches
Ghislaine
and
Maxwell trial kicks
Mother
off
Teresa's
tomorrow.
and the
Prosecution
Hillary
expects
Clintons
to
and
arrest
Hillary
either tomorrow
Clintons
or
and
Monday. The defense will
Michelle
kick off full
Obamas and
coverage
Obama
on
and
WPTV
Bush.
on air and on all
That's
our
what
social
these things
platforms. Doug,
are.
Michelle, again, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your time. To all our viewers, thank
There
you for
should
joining
be
us
no
today.
more talk about whether reptilians exist.